guys, welcome back to more immunity. So we have police versus military. We said the police were innate immunity, which includes the first line of defense, the skin, any of the proteins that you have, pH, mucous membranes. Second line of defense is also innate immunity. We call that never let monkeys eat bananas, 60-30-6-3-1. And which of the let do we use for this? Natural killers. We don't have the B cells and T cells because that's included in adaptive immunity or military. So the police were all of this, plus complement cascade were a bunch of proteins. We are going to cover that shortly. And let's move on. Local police, you think receptors and ligands. Receptors are basically the hands that will reach out and bind to ligand. Ligands are chemicals or any structure that you're actually grabbing onto. So how I think of it is this. If this is the foreign substance that's coming in and they have what we call PAMPs on them, then your receptors will grab and bind to them. So I remember the connection as Pampers. So PAMPs are pattern-associated molecular or pathogen-associated molecular patterns, PAMPs. And PERS are pattern recognition receptors. So let's do it one more time. So PAMP, PERS, and that's it. That's the foreign substance. This is our cells recognizing it, PAMP, PERS. So memorize PAMPs and what they stand for, memorize PERS and what they stand for. Moving on, adaptive immunity versus innate immunity. Innate immunity would be anything that's not B and T cells. B and T cells, if I activate a B cell, let's do a really quick review. B cell, if they're activated for whatever reason, they become plasma cells. And what do plasma cells secrete? They secrete antibodies. So antibodies, I'm just going to write AB, and this little Y represents the receptors or antibodies that are being released. T cells, what do they have? Well, they the two groupings that I want you to memorize for the lecture and for class include cytotoxic T cells and T helper cells. T helper cells have two. There's Th1 and Th2. And Th1 and Th2 actually do activate. So for class, we're keeping it as simple as possible. 2 was the second letter in the alphabet, B. So Th2 positively stimulates B cells to differentiate into plasma cells. What about Th1? Well, Th1, I need one big fella to help me out. So they stimulate monocytes and they encourage macrophages to participate in destruction of the foreign substance that's coming in. Cytotoxic T cells, well, they kill directly. So T helper doesn't kill directly. What he does is he activates other guys to assist. Cytotoxic T cells will kill directly with something called perforins. That's not the only way, but for now we're going to talk about perforins. They also have something called granzymes, and one more thing that we'll cover when we come across it. Perforins, how it does it, how it destroys the cell is, if that's a cell, it punches tiny little holes inside of the cell. And this is, say for example, a bacterial cell wall. If it punches holes inside of the cell, what happens to water? Well, there's lots of water outside the cell, and there's lots of concentration inside the cell, so water will move into the cell. It'll cause the cell to swell and eventually cause lysis of the bacteria or the foreign substance. So perforins do their job by punching tiny little holes that cause swelling and lysis. Lysis means rupture, and bursting the cell to destroy it.